And I'm interviewing Dora Mae Trampe at her house at 244 on Tamichi Trail and in Gunnison. And she's going to talk about her years in the Gunnison Valley and her years as a rancher and also as a land use commissioner. Dora Mae, where were you born?
I was born in West Cliff, Colorado, and that's over in Custer County.
Mm-hmm. In the Wet Mountain Valley,
Yes.
is that right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And your parents were homesteaders there?
Yes, my mother and father came to Colorado from Kansas in 1917
Oh, okay.
with a covered wagon,
Oh, all right.
and they had 4 older children.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was born in West Cliff.
Oh, okay. And so they had a ranch?
Yes, a dry ranch,
A dry
north
ranch.
of West Cliff. Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So that's where you grew up?
Yes. Mhm. I went to high school there.
Mm-hmm. So you were probably growing up right at the end of the Depression?
That's right. Right.
Was it a difficult time?
Yes, I should say so. Hard times.
Yeah.
We had milk cows and chickens,
Mm-hmm.
and that was our livelihood.
Oh.
My father farmed. He raised potatoes.
Uh-huh.
At one time in 1930 and 31, he was referred to as the Potato King.
Oh, really?
They had a railroad at West Cliff at that time, and he loaded the potatoes on the railroad carts at West Cliff,
Oh.
and they went to Canyon City and then was distributed from there.
I should ask you what your parents' names were.
Yes.
For the record.
William
That's
J. and Nellie.
Right.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I remember seeing those names. And after high school, what'd you do?
I worked at the newspaper office there in West Cliff for a couple years, and then the war came along, and I had a sister that was here in Gunnison,
Mhm.
was married to Elmer Long,
Oh.
and he was called to the services. So
Uh-huh.
I told her that if she would find me a job over here,
Uh-huh.
that I would come and stay with her
Oh.
until the war was over.
Uh-huh.
And she found me a job with the M.J. Berju Insurance
Oh,
Agency.
okay. So you came in like 1944, is that
Yes,
right?
1944.
Okay.
Mhm. And I met Sheldon, and
Mhm.
I stayed, and she left.
Oh, did you? You got married in 1945.
Yes, that's right. Mhm.
And now Sheldon's family had homesteaded in here in 1901. Is that when they came?
Yes, Sheldon's father came to Colorado from southern Illinois back about 1898.
In? Oh, okay.
And he worked in the brick factory in Canyon City, and then he taught school at Coaldale,
Mhm.
and then he just kept migrating west.
Oh, okay.
He rode over Monarch Pass on a bicycle,
Oh, really?
and he worked on different ranches here in the
Uh-huh.
valley. He worked for the McCabe's, putting up hay and things.
Uh-huh.
And Sheldon's mother came here from Iowa,
Oh.
and she cooked for ranchers
Uh-huh.
in the kitchen, you know, and
Uh-huh.
things. And they met
Uh-huh.
and were married, and they bought the original 160 acres
Uh-huh.
where the main headquarters are
Uh-huh.
now in 1901.
1901. And how many acres is it now, your ranch?
How many?
Mhm.
Around 6,000.
Wow. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
really grown, hasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. So Sheldon grew up in this valley.
Yes, Sheldon was a native of this valley.
Okay.
Mhm. And he had a sister, Halcyon, that died when she was 16 years old from a bad infection, which now I think they would diagnose as streptococcus.
Oh, yeah. Mhm. And maybe be able to take care of.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, so you became a ranch wife.
Well, I was raised on a farm,
Uh-huh.
of course, and
Uh-huh.
then it was always my love. I liked the outdoors. I
Uh-huh.
liked animals and things. And I don't know, I guess that when we met, it was just what I wanted.
Uh-huh.
And I just loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You did everything, right?
That's right, that's right. I was out in the field with him all the time.
Uh-huh.
He and I always did the calving. We never expected any hired help to help us
Uh-huh.
with the calving and things. We did the calving
Mhm.
ourselves, and we handled the cattle pretty much ourselves.
And you had Herefords, right?
Yes.
A really, I guess, an impressive herd of Herefords.
Well,
That's something I read.
it was a good herd of cattle. It really
Mhm.
was. Mhm.
Yeah, that's a big
And of
herd.
course, since my husband's gone and my son has taken over, he has improved the herd just that much more.
Mhm. So you also cooked for cow camp.
Yes.
Yes. For how many men?
Katie, I can't remember.
Oh.
I think there was either 10 or 12.
Oh,
That was
okay.
fun. That was
Yeah.
fun. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
They brought their bedrolls, and we were in an old ranch house that hadn't had anyone live in it for years, you know.
Uh-huh.
And the cowboys were in one big room, and then my husband and I was in another small room. And one night there was a terrible commotion, and my husband got up to go out to see what was the matter, and there was a pack rat got in one of the fellows' beds.
Oh no.
And they brought the dogs in to get the pack rats, and the dogs got to fighting. And it was quite a hilarious time for a while.
Where was your cow camp?
Up between Flat Top and Red Mountain in the Alkali Basin.
So it's pretty far up.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, we had to ride horses up to it. They took a wagon and hauled the bedrolls and the food and everything up.
And you stay there all summer?
No, just there was 2 weeks. We went for
Oh,
1
okay.
week and then was home a week and then went back up for another
okay.
week.
So that wasn't too bad. Except you had to cook for all those
Well,
men?
it was fun because all I had to do was just have the food ready, and they'd fix their own lunches, and then they'd be gone for the day. And I had all day to prepare the evening meal. And then, of course, I had to get breakfast for them and things. But it was different. Part of it you had to do on a campfire because the stove in the cabin was just a little bitty thing, you know.
Yeah.
And they came in with appetites that just wouldn't quit.
Yeah.
And about every other day, I would ride out to our pickup and come to town and get fresh meat because there was no refrigeration or anything.
Oh,
up
sure,
there.
that's right.
And,
yeah. Even if it was high, it wasn't necessarily cold during the day.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. Now that was before you had kids.
Yes.
Or you had
That's right.
Yeah. Did you ever take the kids to cow camp? Or
No, I never did. After I had a family, why I stayed at home with them.
It's a little
Of course,
odd.
we would go up to our private cow camp and stay and have fun.
With the kids.
Okay.
Well, when you were ranching in the 40s and 50s, was it pretty rough after the war?
Well, after the war, for a while, it was fairly good. Cattle prices. I had to stop and think a little bit. Cattle prices in the late 50s was very good. The cattle industry, the cattle market, is in cycles. It's up and down and up and down, and it has been that way for as long as I can remember. You have your peaks, and then you have your low. And right now we're on our down swing.
That's what I heard. The last couple of years were pretty good, but then now
we've
it's
had
coming down
about
again.
4 years of real good, and now the cattle prices are going down. And what happens?
Why is that?
I think part of it, Katie, is because the cattle prices get better, and people think, well, I'll keep a few more replacement heifers. I'll increase my herd a little bit, and that's what happens. And then they get too many cattle, and there isn't the demand for them, and then the cattle prices have to go down. And so it's just a situation where when the cattle prices go down, people sell more cattle, thin their herds down, and then there isn't as many cattle available, so the prices start coming back up. And it's just a cycle.
Does the dietary habits have an impact? I mean, when I was growing up, you wouldn't have thought of having a meal without having meat. At least one a day, and maybe two.
Oh, I imagine it does have some effect, yes. But I don't know as we really feel it because our population is increasing. And to the point where maybe that evens that off.
Right. And actually, I think people get hungry for meat if they try not to
And
eat.
they are learning, too, that there isn't the cholesterol in the beef that they thought there was and things.
I know. Did that have an effect? The scale?
Oh, I think it did there for a while, yes. When they were
Cholesterol.
telling people that there was too much cholesterol in the beef meat.
Now now they're saying, oh, eat butter, don't eat margarine. Margarine's bad for you. Butter's good,
That's right.
you know. And it's really funny because, my husband calls it killer margarine.
He don't like it.
Now we eat butter. No reason not to. Can you remember in those early years an especially good year or an especially bad year? Or were they just pretty cyclical?
Just typical. since I have been in Gunnison, I haven't seen any of those real hard years. Now, when I was growing up, during the Depression, of course, there was really some tough years. In fact, my parents lost their place because of the bad times. No market, and of course, it was on the dry land where they depended upon rain for the moisture, and it went through a drought. And there just wasn't anything they could do.
I guess things were pretty bad during the Depression in this valley too.
Yes, I think so, because my husband would tell about, you see, when his folks settled out there on the 160 acres, there was, no, it wasn't a hay meadow or anything, it was sagebrush. And they cleared the sagebrush off and things and grew potatoes and oats. And in the wintertime, they would bring a wagon load of potatoes down here to the depot and put it on the train and send the wagon to Cresta Butte. And they would ride up there with it. And then rent a team of horses up there, and they would peddle potatoes from house to house up there in Cresta Butte. And they were like we were. They just did everything they could to make a few dollars.
My goodness.
And of course they had to clear that meadowland of the sagebrush and get water rights and build ditches and things and turn it into meadowland. And then they started out with a few head of cattle. And that's the way it started. Got a range right.
And then, of course, I guess during the Depression you could raise most of your food.
That was one thing, being agriculture people, you could raise your food.
You could eat. Let me turn this off.
Yeah, excuse me.
Yes, sure. Here we go. That should be good. Maybe I can move this closer to you. I don't know. Yeah, that's probably a little better. You'll say, oh, I remember this when she's trying to adjust it for the light. Okay.
Next time I won't answer the phone. I'll just let the answering service take it.
Do you have an answering machine? Yeah, but still, that's all right. You can answer. There's no we were, I forget what we were talking about, though. We were talking about the Depression. And what people did during the Depression. On ranches.
Yes, my mother would take hand-me-down clothes from different people and make clothes for me, especially because I was the younger one and things. And I think I was 13 years old before I had a bought-in coat.
Oh, really?
That was just how hard up we were.
And it's hard. I mean, kids are good sports about it, but it is hard.
That's right.
To wear hand-me-down clothes.
And we lived 8 miles from West Cliff, and there was no schools close. So I had an older sister. My oldest sister's 13 years older than I am, and she was married and lived in West Cliff, and I lived with them and went to school. I never lived at home and went to school.
Did you feel deprived, or did it work out all right?
No, not really. No, they were good to me, and I dearly loved my brother-in-law. He was just like a second father to me. And it worked out real good. I was thankful that I had someone to stay with.
I suppose that was a problem, huh? Because a lot of people probably didn't go to school if they didn't have.
Yes, there were some of them in the valley there that didn't go to school.
That was true in Gunnison too. I mean, I think.
Yes, I think it was too.
People like Lizzie Fardell only went to 8th grade because that's all there was in Baldwin, and then she couldn't.
She didn't have a chance, or had no way to go to high school. Well, I know that my husband told about his parents bought some property here in Gunnison, and his mother moved to Gunnison while they were in high school.
Oh, okay. He and his sister, huh? And I think Anna Plants lived with one of her sisters. Her dad bought a house. Anna McKay, but bought a house so she could go to high school too.
So see how things have changed.
Yeah, they have, haven't they? Yes. What about winters? Winters must have been pretty rough.
Where? Here or in West Cliff?
Well, in Gunnison for sure, weren't they? When you came, from the time you came here, you must remember some terrible winters.
Yes, there were some real hard winters. The winter of 50 and 51 was a real hard winter. We had a lot of cold weather and a lot of snow, and we didn't have the equipment at that time that we could handle the snow and things. And they would take poor horses out to break a trail to feed the cattle and things, and we were still stacking our hay loose rather than baling
Uh-huh.
and things. And they'd have to use the teams and sleds to haul the hay.
Wow.
And it was so cold.
Yeah.
It's hard on the cattle and hard on humans
Yeah.
both.
Yeah. It seems now maybe, I've only been here since 72, but it seems like the winters were really rough when we first came. But they've seemed much better in the last 10
Our
years.
climate seems to be changing.
Yeah. There's not that 40 below for
Well, when I
long
first came to
periods of
Gunnison, we figured that the average temperature for January would be below zero. Around 3 below,
Yeah.
6 below, something like that was the
Yeah.
average.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen anything like that for quite a long
No,
time.
we haven't.
Our coldest, nastiest winter was in 83 and 84.
Yes, yes. That was
We had a lot of snow and
yes.
it was bitter cold.
Yeah, it was. I can remember
Mhm.
that. Yeah. When it's 40 below, it's just so cold to be out. No matter how.
Well, I've always said
Yes.
after it reaches 28, 30 below,
Mhm.
it doesn't make any difference from there on
Yeah,
down.
it's just miserable.
It's just miserable, that's
Yeah, I
right.
think that's true. I mean,
Mhm.
20 below is not so bad.
No,
you know.
you can survive
Yeah,
with 20
you tell
below.
that to people and they look at you
But
like
you know
you're
when it
crazy.
gets, around 40, 45 below, and it stays that way for 2 or 3 nights, you can feel it coming into the house. It
Yeah,
penetrates.
Yes. yeah.
So, and it really gets to you
Yeah. And you see people walking because they can't drive the cars.
then. Right.
You know? And if you're, yeah, that's true. It does penetrate.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, well, I hear all the time. I've interviewed several ranchers, and they always say ranches are a great place to raise kids.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Yeah. Why is that?
Well, they grow up with nature.
Mhm.
There are no questions about where does babies come from and why and things,
Uh-huh.
because they're right out with nature. They see it all happen, and you can tie that right in with a human's life.
Mhm.
And they're out there. They have things to do. They don't have to wonder what they're going to do with their time.
Uh-huh.
And I was always thankful that we were far enough out that they still could have friends, but they could be to themselves too.
Uh-huh.
Because I feel very strongly that a person has to learn to live with himself
Mhm.
and not
Yeah.
always have to have someone
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah.
And
To develop any kind of imagination.
that's right,
or-
that's right.
Yeah, you do have to be by
And
yourself.
your family is closer together that way too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Bill and Betty formed a real close relationship with their 4-H calves and things.
Uh-huh.
It was just great.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And I suppose when you work together as a family, it makes a big difference too.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you're interesting to all be more or less the same
Mhm.
because your business, your livelihood, and your way of life is all one thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and everyone works toward that one
Uh-huh.
thing.
Yeah. Okay. What kind of problems do ranchers face, especially in this valley, perennially?
Well, I think maybe the one problem that you cope with constantly is your weather.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the spring of the year when it's calving time, it can either be nice or it can be real miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times if it's stormy and cold and you have a lot of loss,
Uh-huh.
which affects your pocketbook then the next
Right.
year.
Right.
And also the moisture, if you don't get the rain and things in the hills to grow grass for your cattle, why that affects you because you don't get the weight on your animals.
Oh, okay.
And then when wintertime comes, or let's back up a little bit, when haying comes, if you get rain and things, and it rains on your hay, it takes the food value out of your hay, and your cattle don't do as good,
Uh-huh.
and it takes you a lot longer to get it put up. and
Oh, it
things.
always seems like it rains during haying time.
And then,
Does it never not rain during haying time?
oh, once in a while.
Oh, okay.
I think maybe 2 or 3 times in the time I've been here.
Okay, because, I can...
But,
I always
and then
see it
in the
raining.
fall of the year, why, if it snows early and things, and you have to bring the cattle out of the hills before the pasture is all gone and things, and you
Yeah.
have to bring them down and start feeding early,
Mhm.
then it takes more hay,
Mhm.
and it's just this constant thing
Mhm.
that you cope with all the time.
Okay. So you cope with weather and you cope with the fluctuating market, which is also connected to weather, then I guess too, isn't it?
More or less, yes.
Yeah,
And then, of
yeah.
course, the help situation is a problem anymore because you don't find people that are willing to do that kind of work because your agriculture work is hard work.
Right.
And it's too easy for them to draw unemployment somewhere else or go on welfare or something. And that is one thing that is a problem for all of us anymore.
Oh, sure. Sure, I could see that. Yeah, because you're dependent on that, aren't you?
That's right. We need the help.
Although, hasn't the machinery made it easier?
A lot easier, haying especially, because when I was first married, I cooked for a hay crew of all the way from 10 to 14 men, 3 meals a day, and sometimes it would last as long as 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And now we don't even have to hire any extra help.
Yeah.
Our regular men do it. We have 2 what we call windrowers, swathers, and 2 of the balers that bale the hay, the big round bales, and 1 man does the piling of them with a machine, and that's it.
That's it.
It has made a lot of difference.
So the role of the rancher, and I include women in that as well as men, has changed over the years.
Oh, I should say so. I think back when I was a kid at home and we had the kerosene lamps, and no electricity. We carried our water in and we packed it out and things.
Yeah.
And now with electricity, a ranch woman can have as nice a house as a woman in town with all the conveniences and everything. It's a lot different.
Yeah. I think Lois Fan said ranch women now can go out and play bridge too. They couldn't do that in the old days.
That's right.
Because there wasn't any time to do that.
Well, and not only that, your machinery and things has made it so much easier in handling your cattle too. When we were first married, when we went up to cow camp, which was usually 10 miles, maybe farther, you led your string of horses, you rode there. And now the men haul their horses up to where they want to ride, unload them and ride, and it makes a lot shorter day for them, and they can get a lot more accomplished, and it's a lot easier on the animals.
Oh, sure, I bet it is. And you have to ride all that way. Well, have you seen the role of women change in ranching over the years? Or is it basically remain the same?
Well, in my situation, I don't think it has changed so terribly much because I have always been out with the men and things, and I did my cooking. I raised my kids. I helped on the ranch, and I kept the books and things. Maybe for some women it has, but for me it really hasn't.
Right. So really, probably for the generation before you.
That might yes.
Yes. Yeah. Because I think Lois Fan told me she had never really went out and worked out in the field on the ranch. Well, but her granddaughters do.
When I was a kid at home, there was one boy in my family, and I was being the youngest while I was home after all the rest of them had married and had left. And I worked in the field with a team of horses and things right along with my dad. So that's all I had ever known.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that would be more fun.
It is.
Yeah. Just
a lot more fun.
Yeah. Sounds like it was. Now, I know that, just running a ranch must be a tremendous enterprise. And what happened when your husband died? Not only did you have that was a devastating loss for the family, but what about for the ranch? It must have had an impact on the ranch too.
Well, it did for a while, but I was very thankful that I had always been out with him. I knew the operation as well as anybody. And Bill was a junior, third quarter junior at CSU, and he quit and came home. And with my experience of knowing the operation, and he and I just put a hitch in our belt and carried on.
I read somewhere that said that at the time that your husband died, he was president of the school board, and that things were very heated, and there were all kinds of things going on. Do you think that contributed to his
Yes, I think it
Sunday.
did.
Oh.
You see, that was right at the time that they closed the school, the high school in Crested Butte.
Oh.
And there was a lot of animosity about that. People in Crested Butte, some of them were very much against it.
Uh-huh.
And you see, there was only, I think, 6 high school students up there. And they couldn't get a good education
Right.
up there.
Right.
And it was foolish for the district to put teachers up there
Right.
for that many children.
Right.
And they were told at that time, Sheldon and Sam Little told the people in Crested Butte that when they got enough students to warrant a school back up there, they could have it. And that, I have been quite disturbed about all of this that's gone on then. Because if they would look back in the
Yeah.
school board minutes, they would find that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And you think they probably have enough students now?
Oh,
Out of
yes, I'm
school?
sure they
Yeah,
do have.
They probably
Mhm.
do. Oh,
Mhm.
okay. So they were entitled.
Yes,
to
they're
have
entitled to their
that.
schools up
Yeah.
there. I think that they should have them. I really do.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting because I didn't know that.
Hmm. I don't want to see the district split. I just don't want to see that happen. But
Yeah.
I do think they are entitled to their schools.
Yeah.
I feel very strongly about
Yeah.
that. No, I have stayed out of the school situation because I'm too emotionally involved there.
I can
Because
understand
I'm
that.
sure that the strain and things
Yeah.
shortened Sheldon's life to a
Yeah.
certain extent.
Because, well, I did read his obituaries, and they all talked about, the shock and
Mhm.
sudden death,
Mhm, mhm.
how
Yes, it was
shocking
hard. It was real hard,
Yeah.
and I was so thankful that I had the fortitude to stay with it and hold the ranch together for Bill.
Yeah. Well, that was really good. See, that's the advantage to having known the operation.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Because Bill was just a junior in college.
Yes, and you see, he had never been on the ranch for a full cycle.
Yeah.
He was there in the summertime and for a while in the spring and the fall,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
rest of the time he was at school.
Yeah, right. Well, that was good that you guys could hold it together. Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, you must have felt proud about that. Well, what problems do you see facing ranchers today?
Well, I think the biggest problem we're facing at Katy is the development and people moving in here and putting pressures on us and exploding the price, real estate values and things to the point where people are just going to give up.
Yeah.
You drive up the road to Crested Butte and it's just appalling, the houses that's
Yeah.
going up.
Yeah. You
On-
cannot go for a year and you go up and you're shocked.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah.
Mhm. And even if they aren't on good agricultural land, they bring pressures in
Mm-hmm.
that affects agriculture.
Yeah. Yeah. What about water? How do you see Arapahoe as eventually winning?
I don't even want to think about them winning, Katie, because if they should happen to win and what it could do to this valley
Yeah.
is very frightening.
Yeah. It'd be
It-
another South Park.
Mhm, mhm.
I always think that when I go through South Park.
That's what I have told so many people about our valley, is because if they put enough pressures on agriculture and things, that agriculture just has to give up
Yeah.
because you can't operate,
Yeah.
and the land goes for development and things. We're going to lose the thing that brings people
Yes,
to this
yes,
valley.
Yes. The thing that keeps the valley open are the ranches.
That's right. The beautiful green
Yes.
valley and the
Yeah.
cattle in the hills and
Right.
things.
Even if ranching isn't the main industry anymore, it still contributes so much.
That's right.
It contributes to tourism
Sure
because
does,
it's what
sure
makes
does.
the valley
Sure does.
attractive. It contributes to the culture of the valley.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is not the economic base that it used to be by
No,
any means.
right.
But it is
Yeah.
it's a necessary economic base.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
Oh, Well, do you think Arapahoe has a good chance? I mean, I know we are all so overjoyed at the first court decision, and now I guess it.
Well, still, there's proof, Katie, that there isn't the water available that
Yeah.
Arapahoe claims that there is.
Yeah.
But this year, with all the water that we have, it spurs them on to push a little harder.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Because now we have all that water. I'm just going to turn over the tape. Yeah, go ahead. I guess it does, doesn't it? For once we have a good year that breaks the drought, and yet it's really negative, right?
Yes,
some
because they
respects.
see all this water going to the west, and they think they should be able to hold on to it.
Yes, but at least if it goes to the west, it goes through the valley.
That's right.
You know, that's what I always think.
But there isn't that much water that isn't decreed
Yeah.
in this valley.
And it would seem incredible that they could build a dam at Union Park. Well, of course, that would do everything in the Taylor's Park area. You know, it's just
I feel that it just can't happen.
yeah.
But you never know when
No,
you get
you don't.
politics involved in
Right.
things. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Although things have changed. I mean, it could have happened 20 years ago, 25 years ago. There was more of an atmosphere for that kind of thing to happen. Now there's more. If you lose this, you're never going to get this valley back.
That's right.
We're never going to get our basin back.
Now, I remember when Blue Mesa was put in, it covered up a lot of good ranches and things. And I don't know if it's added that much to our valley or not.
I know.
It has added, but I'm not sure that it has been.
Yeah. And that was one of the good reservoirs. It wasn't even, you know, it did a lot of damage, but you look at it and it's not like some of the reservoirs that they built where it just destroyed all kinds of things. And yet, when you see pictures of what it looked like before,
That's right. That's right.
and talk to people who say, oh, you can't believe what the fishing was like.
Well, and you know,
Yeah.
Katie, these people come in here with their campers and their motorhomes and things. They really don't buy a lot here because they bring their
Right.
stuff with them.
Right.
They might buy a little gas.
Right.
And leave their
and
trash.
some groceries. Sometimes they buy groceries. We know when they buy groceries because we can't get in city market parking lot.
That's the
Safeway. Yeah.
But they don't pay taxes or anything. They
Yeah.
don't do anything to help us support our county.
That's true.
Of course,
And that's a
the
big
sales
problem.
tax, of
yeah,
course, does.
but
so.
if you're not really spending a lot.
I've always said that development, I don't care what kind it is, should support itself.
Mm-hmm.
If it can't support itself, we don't need it.
That's so sensible, and I don't see why people disagree with that.
I don't
You
either.
know? It just seems that would make a lot of sense.
If it can't support itself, if it becomes a burden to the rest of the taxpayers in the county, it's not good.
Yeah. Now, when you were on you were on both the Gunnison County Planning Commission twice, right? For two
Yes.
stints. You were chairperson, and you were also on the State Land Use Board.
That's right.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the changes you saw when you were on the county land use, on the County Planning Commission.
Well, I was one of the charter members of the Gunnison County Planning Commission.
Oh, okay.
And we went through the labors of the land use
Yeah.
resolution
Oh, all right.
and getting people to work together to try to bring up something that would control development in this county was almost impossible. They wanted something, but they didn't know what they wanted.
Yeah.
And they were afraid of anything. And it's that old adage, it's mine and you're not going to tell me what I can do with it.
Yeah.
And now I think that some of them are looking back and wish maybe that the rules and regulations had been a little bit more stringent.
Yeah.
Because at the time, Katie, I was all for this type of zoning, what did they call it? Well, the type of zoning that we had in the land use resolution.
Oh, yeah, but, right. should
I
know
can't
too,
think what
Tanya.
to call
I
it.
sat in all those meetings. I should know.
I knew that was the only kind we'd ever get. We
Yeah.
couldn't get hard
Yeah.
zoning. There was no
Right,
way we could
right,
put
yeah.
hard zoning, get hard zoning
Right.
across. And now I look back on it, and we should have had something more stringent. And I think another thing that is really hurting our community, our county, and even our whole state is this 35-acre thing, and they can't seem to do anything to break that.
Yeah.
And that's going to cut us up.
How do
something.
is that how it hurts? It's because it cuts us up into such small pieces.
You see what it does, Katie, just like the Danny Ranch up there and what we call the Netick Place, the Clark Place or whatever you want to call it. They break that up into 35-acre lots. and it can't be used for anything else, and there's all of that land that is laying idle, is not producing or anything. Of course, I know it's bringing taxes into the county,
Yeah.
but that land should be used.
Yeah.
And those people come in, they've got lots of money
Yes.
and things, and
Yes.
are they going to get to the point where they control us?
Yes, that's a problem. They think this county is a bargain.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just incredible, you know.
But
I wish we could show them it wasn't, but of course it is for them.
well, it's a heaven to them because it's beautiful and it
Yeah.
isn't heavily populated and
Right,
things.
right.
And when they come into an area like this, into a rural area, and they're used to living in a city, they want city services in a rural area,
Yes, yes.
and they're very demanding on it.
Yes. Plow the road out to, I
That's
mean,
right.
that to me is just so shocking that they want that road, Spent Creek Road, plowed. to
Well,
their
and the
house.
thing that just really does perturb me is the fact that when the county let that house be built up there, it was understood for just one summertime
Right,
residents.
right,
And these people turn around and sell it to someone else,
right.
and then we run into these problems.
Yeah,
It always seems to be, it is the second owner
yeah,
of these agreements that cause the problems.
yeah. And it's true, they come from areas like Southern California. A lot of them are come from Southern California where they're used to having so much.
That's right.
And they can't believe that, you know, you have trade-offs. That's why it's such a nice place, because we don't have so much. Because you do walk, because you do ride.
right.
It takes you, I mean, our favorite camp spot is up at Dorchester Campground in Taylor Park. It takes 2 hours to get from our house to there.
Sure,
It's only
sure.
42 miles.
Sure.
That's great. We want it to take 2 hours, you know, because we don't want a lot of people going in there.
Well, and when I first came to this area and married and things, it was just great to go to Gothic. You could get away from people,
Yeah.
and it was just wonderful. And
Yeah.
now I don't even want to go up there in the
I know.
summertime.
You can't go up there in the summer, and you can't go up in the winter.
No.
I know. It used to be really, you used to be able to hike around Crested Butte in the summer, and now you can't go up there and hike. You either run
And,
into private property, or you run into people.
That's right.
It's all these people conflicts.
Well, you see, when I first came to Gunnison, where the ski area is, was a ranch,
Yeah. I know.
where they hayed it and
Yes.
raised cattle and everything.
Yes. Well, I've been here long enough to remember that people said, well, thank goodness we don't have the impacts of AMAX. Ski area won't have those kind of impacts, and I can't believe that we don't have the same.
We do. It's the very
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Very same thing.
When
No.
you go ahead.
I always said that the mine wouldn't do us any more harm than tourism and recreation in the long run.
And people don't realize that, but when you go out now on the road, people aren't traveling with a tent.
Oh,
They have these huge motorhomes.
yes.
And that kind of impact. And plus, you know, the idea of camping is you go out there and you rough it for a few days and you go home.
Mm-hmm.
You don't bring your shower, your TV, your living
Well,
room.
Katie, think
Yeah.
what that takes away from. Used to, there was a lot of summer resorts. People,
Oh,
they
right.
had cabins and
Right,
things.
right.
They paid taxes.
Right.
They bought things in this community. Now they're all gone.
Yeah, that's
Or
true.
not all, but
Most of them are.
are.
Or they
because-
converted to trailer parks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They come in trailers or motorhomes
Yes.
or something.
Yes.
And that phase of business
Yeah.
is more or less gone.
Yeah, that's true. And when people are living in cabins and they're wandering around, and there's kind of a family feeling to it. And when they're living in trailers, it seems like they're all shut away in their own little trailers.
Well, and the way they pack them into these trailer parks,
Yeah.
you can hear
Yeah.
a person turn over
I
in the
know. I
in the
know.
trailer next to you. I
I
would
know,
think.
it's incredible. I know. It's not really camping. I don't know what it is, but it's not camping.
Uh-uh.
But, you know.
No, back to the Planning Commission and how I have seen things change. The thing that perturbed me the most was how the Planning Commission, when I was chairman, we worked hard to get all of the information that we could
Right.
possibly get
Right.
to make our recommendation and things.
Yeah.
And then these people, the proponent, would go to the commissioners and just tell a completely different story and get what they wanted. And that just perturbed me to no end.
Yeah, I remember that happening again.
And I think it's still happening to a certain extent.
Yes, obviously it is.
And I tried so hard before I went off the Planning Commission to get joint public hearings. But I
Never could get it, huh?
couldn't get it.
Well, I can just remember, when you were on the Planning Commission and Maury was on there and Dick and Linda. And
We had a good Planning Commission.
We did. Everybody was hardworking and they were so strong and they, you knew all about a project.
And I wanted to know just exactly where each one of my members stood. I don't care whether they agreed with me or not, but I wanted to know where they stood before we opened that meeting to anything. And I felt that we had a good, strong Planning Commission and that we accomplished a lot.
Yeah, I thought you did too. But it just seemed like there was kind of a handle on what was happening in the valley. Oh, I know part of that lack of a handle now is that so much is happening.
Oh, yes.
That
it's about back like it was when AMAX was going to come in here.
Yes.
Katie.
Yes, it is.
I think the pressures are about the same.
Yes, they're just, and we live next door to someone who put in a double wide on a city lot, and it was an old double wide, and the city had promised him something, and so he put in the double wide on it. Really, it was a nice city lot, but he really kind of ruined the lot by the way he put it in. Then he sold it to somebody for like $35,000, and that person lived there a year and sold it to someone from California for $80,000.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
See,
it's a wreck. Of course, the guy bought it for his son, so his son can go to college. And they don't realize that by how much they inflate prices when they do that. So I wonder what people do who, are on fixed incomes, and this is their little house, and they've been living there, and suddenly the house next door is worth $80,000.
Well, and Katie, even if they would sell, they couldn't go back and replace.
No, they couldn't.
No. And that the house next to them at that price, they value that property more, so you pay more taxes.
Yes, yeah, and that's what's happened. You can see that this year that's happened. It's happened up Valley, but it's happened in Gunnison too.
Oh yes.
Because people think that's a bargain, $80,000 for a rundown double wide,
Well, look, there in Trappers Crossing, they're paying over $100,000 for a lot.
Yeah, that's incredible, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it seems,
And then they wonder why agriculture can't hang on.
Yeah, I know. Do you think there's a danger that agriculture will not be able to hang on?
Yes, I do. I don't know how soon it's coming, but I think it's coming.
Because of all this development and inflated prices.
And you see the government, the people are complaining about the cattle on the range and on the Forest Service permits and things, and it's just pressure from every end.
Yeah. Although I don't think that's going to change. I hope that's not going to change.
I hope not either, but you never know.
Yeah.
Because the environmentalists and the recreationalists have put so much pressure on the Forest Service. And the Forest Service, the powers that be in the Forest Service are more or less your Eastern people. They don't understand the Western life and the way things are done.
And how you need that. And plus it's not for that long. It's only for a period of time.
Yeah, we go out, normal year we go out on the Forest Service the 15th of July, and we have to be in by the 2nd of October, so you see it's only about a little over 2 months.
Yeah,
2 months. Yeah, 2 months. A little
2
over.
months. Yeah. And it's
But they don't like to see a cow pile in their trails. And
I know. Well, for our 25th wedding anniversary 5 years ago, we went out to Mill Castle or Mill Creek.
Mill Creek.
Yeah, up there, and there must have been 100 cattle there. And my sister-in-law asked me recently, "Did you have a nice 25th wedding anniversary?" I said, "Oh yeah, we had hundreds there. They were all cattle. They were all there.
Sometimes they're better company than people, though."
Really didn't bother us. We found our own spot and stuff. I know. Well, I guess it's part of that learning to live together.
Do you remember Reverend McCard?
No.
No, I guess maybe he was gone before you came here. He was the minister at the community church, And
Yeah, I think because Dreyer was minister, I think, when we came.
and
Yeah.
he replaced McCarty.
Yeah.
All right, McCarty said that it was going to come to the point where you learn to live to yourself among many.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's getting there.
Yeah. It is. And that's the strength of this valley, is that we're all very different, but we live together and we come together.
That's right.
Yeah.
As you say, very different. Yes, there's a lot of different interests
Yeah.
in this area.
Yeah. And there always have been. I mean, there was
Yes.
always the college, there was ranching, there was mining, there were businesses downtown, and people sometimes had divergent interests.
Yes, and that's good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
It's very
diversity
good.
is good, yeah.
Hmm.
But, I'd hate to see that change.
I do too, but I'm afraid it's going to.
Yeah, me too. What about the State Land Use Commission? What did you do when you were a commissioner on that?
The State Land Use Commission was a commission that would deal with any kind of a controversy that came up that would affect the state as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the largest problems that we had when I was sitting on that commission was the dust bowl, the dust problem in the eastern part of the state in the late 70s.
Oh.
Remember when the wind was blowing and things?
Yeah.
And I learned a lot. That really surprised me how the Canadians was coming in here and buying up land, and whether it was stable soil or very unstable soil, it didn't make any difference with them. They would break it up and plant in it.
Oh.
And Weld County and one of the counties, I think it was Prowers County, had a lot of problems there, and we met with the people and we worked and made our recommendation to the governor and things. And Governor Lamb did put some very strong restrictions on some Canadians that had broke up some land in Weld County.
Oh.
And then I was involved a little bit in the airport, the DIA, development of DIA.
Oh.
And
Was that in the 80s? I guess it was.
it was in the let's see, I went off the State Land Commission. When did Romer become governor? When did he go in as governor?
Oh.
That's when I went off.
Oh, okay. I would say, was it 88? I know I interviewed
No,
you when
it
you were
must have
still
been
on it.
86, 84,
Oh, okay.
86.
Okay, well maybe I interviewed you in 86 or something, because you were still on the Land Use Commission when I interviewed you. I can't, and it was in the mid-80s.
But
yeah, it probably was 86.
they were tossing that back and forth. It was just in the forming stage at that time. And then there was a problem over in around Breckenridge and that area where I think it was Aurora wanted to claim some water and things. And we got that stopped. That was stopped.
That was
But
nice.
it was anything that would affect the state as a whole.
Oh, okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And I served as chairman for 1 year of that
Oh,
committee.
okay. And then you went off in 86.
When Governor Romer was elected governor, then he didn't reappoint me.
Oh.
He wanted a whole new commission, and I don't think there even is a land use commission anymore.
Yeah, I never hear about it.
I said that the legislature didn't fund us any money, so we couldn't do much without money.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, that's too bad. What do you think are the most important issues facing ranchers in this valley in the next decade? As a way of
Development.
concluding development.
Development.
Yeah. And what do you foresee as coexistence between ranchers and development, so that we wouldn't end up losing our ranches?
That's hard to say, Katie, because we can say that they can live together and things, but if the developers or the people who are in here that have bought developed land and things continue to demand the things they demand, I don't know. I really don't know. we're up there in the north end of the valley around Crested Butte where the pressures are really great.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And my son has worked with the bicycle people up there and have got them to understand that they've got to stay off of our private land and things. And the motorcycles and things, and their trails up through the Forest Service, keeping your cattle stirred up and things.
Yeah.
And I just don't know whether there's an answer to it or not. I really and truly don't.
I don't know either. I read an article by somebody in the Crested Butte Chronicle, a letter to the editor trying to get bicyclists to acknowledge that I think it was through Veltry's property, that they were allowing them to go through there, that they always had the right to say no, and and that they were being abusive, and hey, we're going to lose everything if you don't.
Well, and they are so concerned about the cattle and the damage that the cattle do in the forests, on the public lands and things. But Katie, if you'd ever go up and watch where their bicycle trails are, and the erosion that is eventually going to cause.
And a motorbike is even.
And we have so many people with so much free time, leisure time anymore, and that's the way they work their energy off and things. And I see no improvement there. There's going to be more people out doing those kind of things. So where is our answer?
I don't know. That's interesting. That's true. And it seems like that's the problem with development, is often the people are very, very rich. They don't have to work, or they have inherited money, or they've retired on whatever they've made.
Well, and we have a lot of young people
Contrast.
that are living on inheritances and things. They're well educated. They're young. They have an ambition. And what do they do?
I know. Well, usually you keep working at a job because you need the money, and so you make compromises and you learn to live with it. And if you don't need the money, then you don't have to keep working at a job. You can quit.
That's right.
And if you don't have that option,
you don't have that dedication that everybody needs.
That's right, because you always know that.
I think each and one of us need a dedication to do some good. And I guess they think they're doing good, but they just don't understand the real facts of, I wouldn't say life, but the real facts of making a living.
And that, I see that as a big conflict that's coming. There's going to be few people that have most of the property and most of the money, and the rest of the people.
Well, it's just like so many times you're around people who have moved in here from out of state, usually from the east or possibly California, and they have money. They don't have to worry about anything. And they come in here, and they're in here for maybe 3-6 months, and they know all of our answers before they really know our problems. They just know it all, and it just is.
Well, I've seen this in San Diego, and you're going, you can't have seen this in San Diego because we aren't San Diego. We really have a different set of problems.
Yes.
As you look back, then we'll just conclude this with one last. As you look back on the ranching, what are some of your happiest memories?
Oh, Katie, I always said that I never felt closer to God than when I was out with a herd of cattle in the spring of the year and the baby calves were being born. If that doesn't convince you that there is a higher power, I don't know what would. And I always loved calving season. And I liked working with the cattle and things, watch things grow. I loved my yard and my garden and things. And that's just about it.
Okay. Well,
just ranch life as a whole, I thoroughly enjoyed, Katie.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Well,